Okay, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing fine. My name is Julius, President of Arlington Branch NAACP. Welcome you all to our April 2021 General Membership Meeting. And as you know, we have our meetings open to the public. Our meetings are open to the public. So we're right on time. We're going to open up with a moment of prayer from our co-chair of the Religious Affairs Committee, Ms. Rosa Dunkley. Rosa?
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to thank you, Father God, for yet another day. Thank you, Lord God, for allowing us to meet on tonight, God. Father God, let us be decent and in order, Father God, and let us, Father God, follow the agenda that has been set before us on tonight. Let everything be done, God, to your glory. It's in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Rosa. So we're going to suspend the rules suspend with the order of business per bylaws for the NAACP Section 9, bylaws for units, adopted effective March 2019, and accept the general membership agenda and committee reports of April 19th, 2021. Basically what that's telling everyone is that there is a set order laid out in the Constitution, bylaws for units, that you can go by, but if you're not going to go by that and you have a separate agenda, you are to suspend your order of business. So with that, I'm going to launch the poll for you to vote on it. If you are not a member of the NAACP, please abstain. Names will be captured on this. We still have a few people coming on. All right, Madam Secretary, are you present? We're going to end this. Share everyone the poll, share the results. Okay, so we are suspending with the order of business, and we are accepting the agenda and committee reports for April 19th, 2021. Do you have that, Madam Secretary?
Yes, I do.
Right. Okay, so each one of you, all members and our attendees should have received a copy of the agenda along with the committee reports. We send that out about an hour or so prior to the meeting once we finalize a few things. So with the agenda here, our treasurer tonight is out attending mandatory training. That's Mr. R.Austin. So with him being out, the assistant treasurer, Ms. Adriana Spain, is going to provide us with our financial report for the month. Adriana?
Good evening, everyone. So I have the following information about our checking account. On March 1st, we had a balance of $24,192.13. Expenditures for the month were $10,605.62. Reconciled checkbook balances for the savings account is $204,841.39, and for the checking account, $13,927.55, for a total account balance of $218,768.94.
Thank you, Ms. Spain, for the report. Accepting any motions to accept? You can just come off mute, any member.
The moderator, I make motion that we accept the treasurer's report as read.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
second.
Gordon. All right, been moved by Mr. Gordon and second by Ms. Unley that we Dunkley that we accept the treasurer's report as read. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? There being none, all vote by saying aye. You can come off the mic.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right. Ayes have it, motion carried. Thank you, Ms. Spain, on behalf of Mr. All right. The treasurer, excuse me, let me get this up here. The membership chair is out, so I'm going to share her slides. Just as real quick with the membership, to go back, this is our, and again, if you should have received this already, an email. This was our numbers back in August, our numbers in January, 701, our numbers in, let's go on the screen, I think it's back in March, last month, 778. And the secretary pulled this yesterday. So this is our these are our numbers as of the 16th, 808, 806. So, I was telling the executive committee yesterday, if you look at us, the past 8 months, we've had about a 45% increase in members, 3% over the past month, 14% since January. So really good job with our membership there. People are continuing to join. We've also had there were 10 individuals that joined, maybe a little bit over, Madam Secretary, this past month. I know there was one family who purchased, 5 lifetime memberships. So what we're going to do, we'll get those names together and share them with the membership here soon. With that being said, that concludes the treasurer and the membership. We're right on time, a little bit ahead of time. And so it's time for me to have a few remarks. Again, I want to welcome each and every one of you. I think we had 125 people registered. We have 68 on the call right now. So I'm assuming a few more people will come on in due time. But let me say that we at the NAACP, as you can imagine, we stay busy. All right, the past month has been filled with engagement on many fronts. We met yesterday as an executive committee and for about an hour and a half, and you should have, again, a copy of all the reports from the committees that submitted reports. And it was a fruitful conversation. One thing of note that, there's a number of standing committees that every branch should have. We don't have all the standing branch committees that we should have. And with that being said, we had a conversation on legal redress. I was in the late stages of figuring that out and had a few people that were volunteering. So I'm here to report that we do have 3 individuals that have volunteered to serve on the legal redress committee. I will mention their names to you here. But we just kind of launched our website, right? So on our website, we have a formal complaint form. And we have a means now for individuals in around Arlington, to submit complaints of discrimination, racism to the NAACP. The individuals that are on this committee have completed the training that has been put forth by National NAACP. So we're getting our sea legs. That's what I like to tell a lot of folks. Some of these committees are new. It's going to take them a while. We are trying to adapt. Just like any other branch within a volunteer organization, it takes time. Nothing happens overnight. And I'm glad we have our executive director on the call because he can tell you, about his experience when he came into the Virginia State Conference and what he came into. So we're still kind of finding our way, not only the Virginia State Conference, but even in many of these branches. So the individuals that are going to be on the Legal Redress Committee who have volunteered are going to be Mr. James Younger. Mr. James Younger currently sits on he's an at-large member of the executive committee. He's also a lawyer. Mr. Henry Reddick. Henry, are you on the call? I thought I saw you. There you go. Wave your hand at Henry. Henry Reddick is on the call. And Ms. Carolyn Kane, Esquire. She is also a member of our branch, and many of you probably heard her name before. So those are going to be our 3 members of the Legal Redress Committee. More to follow. But we're moving ahead. We did see on the registration form, there was about 10 individuals who signed up and said, hey, we want to serve on committees. So those 10 individuals, we have your names. We will be circling back with you in the next couple of days. and finding out what committee you want to serve on. But we know who you are because you put it in there during registration. And Kirsten, you're laughing. So are you one of them, Ms. Fuller? You can unmute yourself.
Yes, I am. I'm one of them.
Yeah, so we're gonna get back with you, and all of you. We'll talk. We'll probably have a separate meeting, something similar to a new member orientation. Find out what you want to do, and tell you what the committees are, and then we'll speak with the chairs, and then I'll make appointments as necessary. We're way ahead of schedule. With that being said, I'm not sure if the first vice president's on, but Madam Secretary, we didn't do a roll call of officers. So with the time we have left, I know I have about 4 minutes. They should have gave everyone a couple of minutes to come on. Can you do a quick roll call of officers for the branch?
Sure. First Vice President, Kent Carter. Kent Carter. Second Vice President, Sharice Kerns.
Present.
Third Vice President, Michael Hemminger.
Present.
And R.Austin's in mandatory training. Assistant Treasurer, Adriana Spain.
Present.
Assistant Secretary, Dominic Jenkins. Dominic Jenkins. Executive Committee at Large, James Younger.
Present.
Executive Committee at Large, Simone Walker.
Present.
At Large Member, Carolyn Kane. Carolyn Kane. Community Coordination, Jacob Williams. Jacob Williams. Economic Development, Megan Brew.
Present.
Environmental and Climate Justice, Gabrielle Cantor.
Present.
Housing, Kellen MacBeth.
Present.
Housing, Tim Dempsey. Tim Dempsey. Labor and Industry, Maya Jones. Maya Jones. Keisha, membership, K.Tensley's at training. Political Action, Jamie Abrams.
Present.
Political Action, Megan Reasor.
Present.
I believe I saw Religious Affairs, Pastor Delisha Davis.
Present.
Religious Affairs, Rosa Dunkley.
Present.
Scholarship, Adora Williams. Adora Williams. Jill DeWitt Scholarship, she's in training. Special Events, Shayla Smith. Shayla Smith. Special Events, Marvin Nels.
Present.
And that concludes the roll call.
Thank you. Muted, JD.
Nick Juan's coming a little bit later, but we're going to start off with Senator Barbara Favola. Many of you know her. She needs no, how can I say, everyone knows Barbara. Barbara just finished up with the session down there, and she couldn't make it last month, but she reached out to the Political Action Committee and the team here and wanted to come because we did have her on the agenda to come back and give us her updates on the Senate side. We did hear from the House of Delegates. So with that being said, Barbara, we're going to let you go ahead and get started. You have about 10 minutes, and it's good to see you. I know this is a busy time of the year for all of us, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Julius. It's good to see you and the entire team. As always, everybody's energetic and ready to go. So I'm glad to be part of this group and dues paying member. So let me I'll give you a quick update, and I'll try to keep my remarks under 10 minutes in case there are questions, and I'm happy to take questions. So some of the highlights of this last session, we did pass a clean car standard. So for vehicles that are the 2024 models, probably being sold around the beginning of 2025, we will participate, Virginia will participate in a 13-state collaborative that will set a standard for low emissions. You know, car emissions, the carbon emissions from cars are a significant contributor to our pollution. We feel it's time. We also believe that adoption of these clean car standards will really precipitate a larger market for electric vehicles. So we were happy to see that get through. I was a chief patron in the Senate. Another very important bill that passed that I believe will make a significant difference in our criminal justice system. We passed a bill that will allow the introduction of evidence on mental illness or some kind of developmental delay if that is in play when a crime is committed. So this bill will allow the introduction of this evidence in criminal trials. Experts would need to be called, but we believe that this will help shape a framework where you know, mitigating circumstances can be considered, and hopefully the judge and the jury will get a more complete picture of actually what the alleged perpetrator was going through and what he may have been dealing with at the time. So this came to us from Justice Forward. I was a chief co-patron in the Senate. Senator Jennifer McClellan was the primary patron, and we had to work pretty hard to get this through. There were lots of questions and discussion about what kind of evidence and how it should be valued and all that. But at the end of the day, this is going to add a new lens to how criminal trials are viewed, and it will add a new lens to what the alleged perpetrator, again, may have been suffering from or dealing with. So we think it's a step forward. I did put a bill in that, and it passed, that will require the board of the local and regional jails to look at practices dealing with pregnant inmates. So we want to ensure that standards recommended by the National College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists are actually adhered to and met in our jails. So we'll be looking at prenatal care, pregnancy care, postpartum care, and also time spent with the newborn baby. And we feel pretty good about this. I worked with many stakeholders. The sheriffs did come on board. So we're hoping that this work group will come up with recommendations, and that those recommendations will be turned into regulations. Now, the topic that you all probably are most interested in is the legalization of marijuana. I chair the Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee, and that was the committee that had the major responsibility for hearing this bill and steering it through the General Assembly. The Judiciary Committee had the responsibility of looking at the expungement of records and some of the sort of criminal justice elements that had been associated with marijuana. So what actually passed, I'm really proud to say, we passed in the veto session a bill that will legalize the possession of 1 ounce of marijuana or less by an adult, 21 years of age or older. That'll take effect July 1. And we also legalized the growth, not for sale, but the growth of marijuana plants in one's home. 4 marijuana plants would be the maximum. That would be effective July 1. Also, July 1, we will establish a cannabis control authority, and this authority will be responsible for establishing the criteria and the regulatory framework for the issuance of licenses. Licenses to people who are going to grow, cultivate, and distribute and retail, market the marijuana planters. All of that will take place through a licensing process. We'll be getting different licenses. We established some advisory committees to the Cannabis Control Authority. One was on equity investment. So it's very important. And we put language in the statute that actually talks about the need for social equity. So when individuals come asking for a license, they have to have a plan for involving individuals who historically have been over-policed regarding marijuana and have historically been denied access to capital. So we were very clear in the statute, this was an expectation of ours, and we, in fact, will be monitoring that. The General Assembly will be monitoring for that. So all those regulations won't be in place until January 1st of 2024, because we really want to get it right. But in the meanwhile, we will be, holding briefings and updates on the Cannabis Control Authority's activities and the kind of input we are getting from various stakeholders. Let me see if there's anything else. Now, local governments may opt out of having retail marijuana operations within their jurisdiction if they have a referendum in the 2022 general election. Otherwise, the retail operation will go, it'll be statewide. There will be input from local governments in terms of, how many marketing or retail operations they want in their jurisdiction and where they would be placed and all that. There will be input. But unless the jurisdiction actually has a referendum and opts out, we'll have marijuana available again, legally 1 ounce or less for possession for somebody 21 years of age or older. We will put a fair amount of money. We expect to get about $300 million in tax revenue over a period of about 4 years. 1/3 of that money is going to go into substance abuse treatment programs, which I feel really good about because I think we've underfunded that area. We will also put a big chunk into early childhood education. And we actually will have, we've written into the law, a very robust education campaign on the use of marijuana and the effects of marijuana on a developing brain, because we want very much to keep this to be adult use, recreational marijuana, again, in limited quantities. So that's the update. Should I
Great.
check the chat, or do you want to?
Well, yeah, there is a question. We have about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes left.
Okay.
The question is around hope, restoring the rights of many Black and brown Virginians that have historically received records, because of, marijuana. So tell us a little bit about what you intend to do.
Okay.
Because, I believe totally that expungement of records should just be, everything should be thrown out. If we're going to legalize this thing, then throw out the records. Let's throw out all those charges and clean the records. But tell us what you intend to do.
No, we thank you for asking that. I knew that was going to be a question, so I prepared for it. So come July 1, if individuals had been arrested and they had a felony conviction for the possession of 1 ounce or less, those records will be automatically sealed, is what they're saying. And then if there were felony convictions that are more complex than simple possession, there will be a process, and agencies will be setting up databases, and there'll be a process for actually sealing those records.
I think we'll probably have we'll come back around it, not today, of course, but, probably devote an entire meeting on this new legislation, because it's going to, affect,
Yes, that would be. That would be
both,
great.
But I will give anyone who's out there maybe a moment. If there's a question that someone wants to go live one-on-one with and ask the senator a question, please do so. This is your opportunity. We're right on time, but if you have a question, feel free to come off mic and ask the question directly.
Hi, was there anything about gun control?
Who are just
Oh.
state your name? Who's
Oh,
that?
Gail Hermosilla.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Gail. Yes, we did pass a what I would say a domestic violence prevention bill. We really struggled to get it through the Senate. It's a narrower bill than I had hoped, but basically, if somebody has actually been convicted of a misdemeanor assault of a of somebody who he or she cohabitated with in an intimate relationship. So it could be a wife and it could be a former spouse. And it could be a very long-term common law arrangement. But if somebody's actually been convicted of an assault, the person would lose the firearm for 3 years and then have it automatically restored. So the interest, there won't be a record. It won't be a criminal record. It would be a class 3 misdemeanor, no jail time, up to a $500 fine. The intent here was less to punish and more to break the cycle of more to separate a firearm from somebody who was having anger management issues and was very violent. Again, it would be the hope that a judge would require anger management classes and other restorative things that could get the family back on track.
Well, thank you,
Good evening.
Senator Barbara Favola, for your time and coming out here today. It's been a pleasure. You're always welcome to come back to the NAACP and give us updates. We will be keeping in contact with you. All right, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, you're welcome. Okay. So we have a young gentleman from Henrico, Virginia. His name is Mark Daquan Love, the executive director, effective 1 January 2021, the executive director for the Virginia State Conference of the NAACP. Daquan has been traveling around the Commonwealth, both virtually and in person. And I asked him to come out a few weeks ago and spend some time with us, about 15 minutes, and talk to us about his role. This is not a new role at the NAACP, the Virginia State Conference, but we are changing things. And Daquan is at the tip of the spear at our state conference. Many of you probably had a chance to look at his resume, but he's been around a little bit. So with that being said, Daquan, welcome. The floor is yours for the next 15 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Vice President Spain, and to the members of the Executive Committee. It is truly a privilege to be with the Arlington branch of this phenomenal association this evening. As President Spain, Vice President, and also Regional Vice President for the State Conference indicated, no stranger to the NAACP, having being reared in this association from my time as president of the Richmond, Virginia Youth Council, then going on to be treasurer of the Hampton University College Chapter, president of the Virginia Youth and College Division, member of the National Youth Work Committee, and then serving as national chair of our Youth and College Division, member of our National Board of Directors, vice chair of the annual National Convention, and vice chair of the Committee on Membership and Units. I'm truly honored and delighted to be able to serve as your executive director, serving as the chief staff officer, overseeing the day-to-day operations of the Virginia State Conference and supporting our more than 100 units across this Commonwealth. It is truly an honor to be with you all this evening. I will not belabor the point and be before you too long. My goal this evening is to just introduce myself, to share a little bit about the work that we're doing at the state conference, and letting you know that your branch assessment dollars are being well spent. I will tell you first and foremost, since I have come into office in January of this year, we have already made significant progress in terms of our advocacy and our civil rights agenda. Many of you all know that the Arlington branch actually has some of the highest numbers of our legislative advocacy alerts during the 2021 General Assembly sessions. And so I want to commend you all for your work there. Because of your efforts, we were able to send over 16,000 messages to legislators to discuss the NAACP's legislative agenda. We were able to make substantial progress, and the voice of the NAACP is louder than ever before. Excuse me. I was chatting with President Barnett, the other day, and I shared with him, I said, you know, anytime you have senators on the floor of the Senate arguing about the position of the NAACP, that is not something we should take lightly. And to me, that tells us that our advocacy is working. We are well respected, but moreover, the name of the NAACP is allowing us to be able to pursue and enact a robust civil rights agenda. I won't bore you with all of our legislative details. You can visit our website, naacpva.org, and you under branch and field resources, you can take a look at our legislative advocacy report. We've produced a 91-page report that outlines all of our positions and the progress that was made on them. I'm really excited about the gains that we made in voting rights and civil rights, but we still have some room to grow. I'll tell you this, we are now laser focused on ending qualified immunity here in this Commonwealth. And we've recently called on Governor Northam to call a special session of the General Assembly to take this up. And you can visit www.demandaspecialsession.com to help us spread the word and to sign the petition calling on the governor to do so. Thank you so much. I believe Jamie just checked out that report in the chat. Please check it out and let us know what you think. In addition to legislative advocacy, we have been very busy dealing with civil rights issues across the Commonwealth. From the Bluefield College challenges that students face and the brave students that filed a complaint with the Virginia State Conference NAACP that we're still ongoing that investigation. We've continued to have meetings with the administration that have been fruitful, and I'm very pleased with the progress that we're making in Bluefield. In addition to the challenges that we're facing with school boards across this Commonwealth, where members of our school boards, especially those that are representing large districts with minority populations, specifically Black students, are not supporting the diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts that we know are pivotal to the long-term educational success of our students. And so we're holding those school board members accountable, from Emporia to Henrico. We are doing that work as well and supporting those on the ground. And tragically, we continue to see just about week after week incidents of law enforcement incidents with Black Virginians that are not optimal. And so we are continuing to investigate those matters, from the Donovan Lynch situation to the Xavier Hill case. We are continuing those investigations, but moreover, we are focused on long-term change. And so that's what you'll see coming out of the state conference. As it relates to internal affairs, you'll find that we're working to digitize as much as possible the branch reports that you'll be filing to the state office. I'm pleased to say that we have one of the highest rates so far of branch assessment payments, thanks to the work of our regional vice presidents in helping us to ensure that branches are providing their level of support so that we can keep operations moving here at the state conference level. But moreover, I am glad that we have a phenomenal executive committee with leaders who are committed to ensuring that the policy of this association is moving civil rights forward, and that we are able to support our branches in unique and unprecedented ways throughout this very challenging COVID-19 pandemic. But moreover, as we think forward about what our plan will be for the Virginia State Conference NAACP post-COVID-19. We've engaged and are beginning a statewide strategic planning process, and I'm delighted that we've been able to identify and work with a minority-owned, Black-owned firm to help us with that. We're continuing to look at ways as a state conference we can be more efficient, more effective, but support the phenomenal work that is being done by our branches across the Commonwealth. That's where we are right now. We have a lot of room to grow, a lot of progress that still needs to be made, but you have my commitment that every day we're going to work towards making Virginia a better place for Black Virginians to raise their family and to be productive citizens in our society. So I'm so thankful that you have allowed me to be with you. And I'd like to take the last couple of minutes to answer any questions that you all might have, especially as it relates to our programmatic work here in the Commonwealth.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions coming from our members? If so, please feel free to unmic. Come on, Mike, state your name. And if you can show yourself, please do so. Come on video. Any questions?
JD, I have a question.
Okay, Kellen from our housing chair. Go ahead, Kellen.
So this is something we've talked about, and I'm a new chair for the NAACP. But essentially, as we develop our own policy and advocacy priorities and agenda items, what's the process for helping shape the Virginia Conference overall advocacy agenda for the 2022 General Assembly session?
That's a very great question. The best way to influence that process is through the resolutions process. And so you as a branch should have already, I'm assuming that you're probably doing that tonight, your resolutions for the national convention that you'll be submitting changes for policy and program. But for the state conference staff, I and the staff that are under my direction are restricted to only supporting and enacting policies that have been approved through the state convention resolutions process. And so, Kellen, what I would suggest that you do is to go ahead and begin drafting resolutions for policy positions you think the state conference should take. And those resolutions should be passed by your branch and then forwarded by your branch secretary for the state convention.
Sounds good, thank you. And when is the state convention?
The state convention is October, the last week in October, I believe it's the 27th through the 29th, but I don't have that in front of me, and it will be virtual this year.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes. So.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Can you tell us a little bit more about the work that you're doing with holding school boards accountable? What does that accountability look like? And also, if you could go into a little bit about the complaint that you're looking that you guys are handling from the school and what those issues involve.
Which school? Bluefield?
Yes.
Gotcha. Sure. So to answer your first question, we're supporting branch efforts to hold school board members accountable. We've been supporting the Henrico branch as a result of our collaborative efforts and some public pressure. The chair of the Henrico County Public School Board, who had expressed both in public and private settings her opposition to diversity, inclusion, and equity in a school system that is growing to be majority minority. She resigned from being the chair of the school board after the local NAACP branch issued a statement calling for her resignation. And this is after several weeks of other organizations and community efforts to have her removed from that position. And so again, the name of the association does mean a lot, carries weight, and we're using it judiciously to ensure that Black students are able to be in an educational environment that they feel comfortable in. In Emporia, Virginia, our local branch, the Greensville Emporia branch, is working to file a petition to the circuit court to actually have that particular school board member removed for some very racist and derogatory Facebook posts. And this gentleman actually represents a majority Black school district, even though he is not Black. And so we are holding those school board members accountable. And as a state conference, we're providing that administrative support and that legal support through our state legal redress committee to ensure that those branches are able to hold those school board members accountable. As it relates to the Bluefield College investigation, many of you all may remember, which seems like forever ago at this point, back in February, Bluefield College came into national news attention. They actually suspended their basketball team from a game, their basketball team being majority African American. The school is a private Christian school with about I believe 10 to 20% Black student population in Bluefield, Virginia, which borders Bluefield, West Virginia. At that time, the college remained adamantly against the students kneeling during the national anthem, which was the cause of the team being suspended, despite other individuals, other athletes as well, from doing the same thing during their sports competitions. And so we have met with them, and that particular investigation is expanded to include the local community. And in a lot of these situations, we come into an investigation looking at one thing, but as the onion unravels, we find that there are other issues that are plaguing that college campus as it relates to the culture and support for Black students. And so we've shifted gears in terms of looking at the racial profiling of the town police officers as well. There's so many challenges that those Black students at that college face, and we're working aggressively to ensure that they have the support of the NAACP and that policies at the college and in the community are being changed so that they can live, work, and study in an environment that is adequate for them. I do also want to give you all an update on the situation with Lieutenant Nazario in Isle of Wight County. We are currently, as a state conference, continuing to support the work of the local Isle of Wight branch in that county. On that incident, we're working with the Lieutenant Nazario's attorneys as well, and our national office, as well as the State Conference Legal Redress Committee. There are mitigative issues that have come out of that. So there's some local town council and local police policy changes that we're looking to get addressed, but there are also some legislative pieces we're looking to get addressed. One of which is that we believe is the end of qualified immunity being super important, and we're laser focused on that. And that's why we have launched our website, which is demandAspecialsession.com, where we're encouraging everyday folks to go online, share on your pages. We want to send a message to Governor Northam that we are demanding that he call a special session so we can finally end qualified immunity in this Commonwealth. Despite having a Democratic majority, that bill failed to get out of committee. And so it's important to note that it is very important that while we are nonpartisan as an organization, we're not blind to those legislators who appear and look as if they're being supportive, when in reality, they are not even allowing a bill to get out of committee. And so I would encourage each and every one of you to talk to your legislators and ask your legislators their position on qualified immunity and ending it here in this Commonwealth. That is how we're going to get this done. President Barnett has made that a priority, ending qualified immunity. We believe we have some traction, and we're going to work aggressively to ensure that it gets done. If we work aggressively to get folks to sign this petition, to talk to our state legislators, when the special session comes out, I believe we'll have an opportunity to really move the needle and get this done. It is very well possible, Arlington branch, that by the time our state convention comes, we can be celebrating the end of qualified immunity in this Commonwealth, but only if branches like yours across this Commonwealth take this seriously and tell your friends, tell your neighbors, share it on social media, and we really become laser focused on getting this done.
Okay. Mr. Executive Director Daquan, we thank you for being with us this evening and spending a little bit of time. I know you and I, we speak quite a bit, and I owe you something about it. But again, thank you. You're always welcome to come here to Arlington Branch NAACP. Again, welcome aboard. And if you stick around, I'm sure people will send you some messages in the chat, maybe. But if there's anything outstanding, we'll make sure it gets to you. So thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I can't wait to actually come and see you all in person sometime soon.
All right, come on, take care. All right, next up is our, per the agenda, is our political action chair led by our political action committee led by our chair, Jamie Abrams and Megan, right? Is Megan on? All right, the floor is yours. I'm out of your way.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to pull up our slides, so hopefully everybody can see those. Have a lot to cover. I want to make sure everybody can follow along. So I'm starting first with all the committees were asked to identify our top 3 priorities. So we wanted to share the top 3 priorities of the Political Action Committee. You can see those here. It's voter registration and outreach, candidate and elected official engagement, and advocacy for policies and programs advancing the priorities of the Virginia State Conference and our branch. And actually, both of our speakers tonight are connected very much to our work here at the Political Action Committee, and they're both kind of a tough act to follow, but I will do my best. I do have several updates for everyone, and I'll actually touch on all 3 of these. So I'm going to start with our advocacy work, and our wonderful executive director really stole my thunder on this one, but better that you heard it from him than from me. So as he mentioned, the Virginia State Conference has released the Advocacy and Policy 2021 Legislative Sessions Report. We sent that out to all members on April 2nd, so hopefully you received that email. If not, my co-chair, Jamie Abrams, has dropped that in the chat, so please check that out. There's lots of great information in there. And a particular note, as you can see here, 64% of supported bills passed through both chambers. So that's quite a great accomplishment in one legislative session. And we already got the kudos from the state conference, but our branch sent the most messages in response to the action alerts. We sent 3,414 messages to legislators. So thank you all so much for getting involved. And let's just do even better next year. I'm sure we can. All right, so next up, I want to talk about voter registration and outreach. We just recently wrapped up the voter registration postcard campaign that we did with Reclaim Our Vote. Our branch sent 1,000 postcards that were completed by 16 individuals and 1 church congregation. So that's really awesome, and we're really just getting started. I want to say thank you so much to Heather Stamos for coordinating the postcard campaign and all the great work she did behind the scenes. Thank you to Pastor Davis for coordinating Callaway Church's participation. And just really thank you to all of our volunteers who wrote postcards. We really appreciate it, and we hope we're making a difference. Also, for voter registration, we participated in a voting rights panel back on March 28th, and our community partners in that event have provided some follow-up resources for us to share. So Jamie is going to drop the resources and action steps into the chat if you'd like to check those out. It's really packed with a lot of great information. And really, in light of recent efforts across the country to restrict voting access, this is so important for us to stay involved. And so speaking to that, in addition, just a heads up that our voter registration work is really going to ramp up in the next month or 2. That will be led by the awesome Detta Kessel. So again, these efforts are just especially important to our branch, since I think we all know voter restrictions and voter purges disproportionately affect people of color. So we really hope you'll get involved in all of our future efforts. All right, and last but not least, I'm going to move on to our candidate engagement. So there's a lot of information on this slide, but let me just say that we are going to hold another candidate forum this fall prior to the general election, and very similar to what we did last fall. But we're also going to be hosting a focused dialogue with the Democratic candidates for the House of Delegates, for county board, and for school board at the May membership meeting meeting next month, and that's to do that prior to the school board caucus and the primaries. And so registration for next month's meeting is already open. So Jamie is also going to drop that in the chat if you want to go ahead and get that on your calendar and get registered for that event. As a reminder, we are a nonpartisan organization. So we are reaching out to these candidates in the Democratic primary and school board endorsement caucus because historically, these partisan processes have yielded the prevailing candidates in November. So we think it's really important that we get in a dialogue with them up front, and that we ask them meaningful questions about the topics that are important to the NAACP. So that's what we'll be doing at our next membership meeting. You can see the schedule there. On the right-hand side, we do want to make sure everybody has information to get involved. So the Arlington County Democratic Committee, the ACDC, will hold its school board caucus using an online balloting platform this year. And that's going to be open May 17th through the 23rd. Jamie is also going to post the website link in the chat so you can go online and get all the information that you need for the school board caucus. Also, the Democratic primaries for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general, and the Democratic and Republican primaries for House of Delegates and Arlington County Board will be on June 8th. The deadline to register is May 17th. The deadline to request an absentee ballot is May 28th. In-person absentee voting starts April 24th, which is this coming Saturday. And the last day of in-person absentee voting is June 5th. And we're really keeping Jamie on her toes here. She's also going to post the link to the Virginia Department of Elections. So you can check out all the details on that and make sure that you're registered to vote, not only in the general election, but also in the primaries. So we really encourage you to participate in the caucus, participate in the primaries, and have your voices heard. So that's it for me. Thank you, sir.
All right, Jamie, nothing from you tonight. You were just dropping links, huh?
Dropping them like a boss.
All right, well, thank you to our political action committee, and great work. Again, the link is live for our meeting next month, which is also going to be a structured candidate form. So go ahead and register for that as well. There's also a flyer that's completed. If you can share that flyer tonight, Jamie, in the link, please do so. With that, we just want to thank you for your report. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have our Education Committee. Education Committee, Cherie and Simone.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Okay, I'll start off, and Sharice might fill in. We do not have a PowerPoint presentation. However, our top 4 priorities are listed here in our strategic goals, which align with the school year 2021. We've got 2 pages of goals. So we have a very ambitious agenda here, and I'll just scroll so you can see we've been focused a lot on literacy and instruction, and also our next instructional goal will be focusing on math as well. In between working on our strategic goals and our advocacy around all of these, we have been triaging issues and putting out fires as they come up. As many of you know, we sent out our budget priorities letter to the superintendent in February. And since then, we've had to be monitoring cuts that are inequitable for Black and Brown students. And so on very short notice, we had to rally together and send out a letter opposing cuts to the middle school after-school programs and the late buses for students that were put into the middle school after-school programs in sports were on tier 1, and the late buses were on tier 2. And so we shot off a letter. We rallied a number of people to oppose those and also to reach out to the school board to support our opposition to those cuts, and they are now off the table. We hope not to see such cuts again, and that we also suggested in our letter that going forward, the school board and the superintendent use an equity tool in proposing its budget, so that we don't see these kind of cuts that are have disproportionate impact to students who are marginalized. We've also been dealing with the fallout from the Wakefield football game with Marshall High School that occurred March 5th. Lots of communications back and forth. Sharice, as a PTA president at Wakefield, a vice president for PTA vice president at Wakefield, has been spearheading that. That's kept us very busy. We've also been having to reach out to Wakefield to register our opposition to some planned talks they were planning to have police come in and talk to a group of cohort young men about racism, and we just felt that it was in poor taste and the timing was bad. So these are the issues that crop up week after week in between our committee meetings that we're having to deal with. Sharice and I also sit on the school resource officer working group, and that's kept us busy. We've had a number of special sessions with regards to the administrator panel, the school resource officer panel, hearing from their perspectives. And we're working through that. President Spain and Vice President Cantor came and did a presentation of the NAACP's position against having school resource officers in schools. There will be a public hearing on the 26th of April for this working group for people to voice their opinions one way or the other. And the big thing that's really keeping us busy is Sharice and I are looking forward to is the Dyslexic Edge Academy that we're partnering with a nonprofit organization to bring literacy, structured literacy intervention, tutoring for after school enrichment as well as STEM for students in a Title I school. Our target school is Drew, and so we're working with the Drew principal and we're working with APS and trying to get this in place as a way to help close the opportunity gaps for those students whose parents cannot afford private tutoring for them. So that's, we're very excited about that. And we're continuing with our coalitions. We're working with the Virginia Joint Coalition on Learning Disabilities and Literacy. And there is a planned webinar on May 13th, and I will drop that in the link from 3 to 4. And it's by UVA professor, Dr. Michael Kennedy. He is in the Department of Curriculum, Instruction, and Special Education. And the webinar is entitled, it's a mouthful, The High Leverage Practices for Students with Disabilities, an Introduction and Integration with Evidence-Based Practices. So we are going to be getting that information out to the community, for parents, for teachers, in APS, outside of APS. These webinars are free that the coalition is putting together. And that is all. Oh, and we also have a high school senior at Washington Liberty, Abel Gelada. He is doing his senior experience with us in the education committee. So we're excited about that, to have him shadow us and help us with some of our civil rights work. And I will yield to Sharice, see if we have, she has anything to add. Thank you.
No, I don't have much to add. I can circle back on the Wakefield incident for those who don't know. On March 5th, there was a football game between Wakefield and Marshall High School. And during that football game, there were racial epithets and spitting from the white team members on the opposing team, which was Marshall High School. Despite the entreaties of the young men and the coaches involved, nothing was done. A fight broke out, and the Wakefield team and the Fairfax team, the boys involved in this incident, were suspended. We were able to get the suspensions reduced. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the Wakefield student suspensions completely rescinded. As a result of that, we have been working largely in a supportive capacity with the families of the young men who've experienced this. We have helped them do a car parade to show support for them during senior day for one of the last football games. And we are also in the process of working with some of our elected officials to craft letters to Virginia High School League and the Referee Association who's responsible. We're hoping to be able to make sure that any regulations that are on the books in terms of unsportsmanlike conduct, especially concerning racial epithets, are going to be enforced, and that the referees who fail to enforce it will be sanctioned. So that's kind of our goal right now, but it's very dynamic. But the families have been wonderful under really trying circumstances. They've been, of course, under an incredible amount of media scrutiny, and also been facing a lot of opposition and pushback from white people in the community about what these young men came forward to do. So I think that is a very important piece of our work right now. And I'm really optimistic that we're going to be able to make some change in that area. And I talk about that because I mentioned in the chat to Daquan that we were having these issues. So maybe 3 weeks after that happened with Wakefield, we had a similar incident with TC Williams. So I'm saying that to say that this is probably a statewide issue that we may be trying to push up to the state level for some attention as these incidents happen and as families start to report them out. We're really excited about the Dyslexic Edge Academy because we have in Arlington County opportunity gaps. And when we say opportunity gaps, what we mean is that there are families in Arlington who are able to provide enrichment and other needed educational opportunities for their children. And then we have families who are unable to do that. What Dyslexic Edge Academy would do is fill a very small gap and allow some children who normally would not be able to get tutoring for their reading and their literacy to get that added enrichment so that they are able to finally get up to grade level, hopefully. This is particularly important because we know that there are children who were struggling with reading even before the pandemic. And we know that for a lot of students, that struggle has gotten worse during the pandemic. So it's very important. We've had to do an incredible amount of work to get this to where we have it, because we've gotten, of course, some pushback inside of APS, but we finally found a champion. We worked really hard. We've got a champion for this work, and we think we're going to be able to get it through in the next coming week. So we'll keep you posted. We're very proud of that. We also have a couple of other, one of our other committee members is actually kind of taken up the mantle and really done like a deeper dive into some SPED issues. And we're so grateful to Sonia for the work that she's doing in that. She's been able to help one of our special ed advisory committees to craft a more focused program on ableism. So we're really grateful for her work there. And we have Maggie who's working on math literacy, because that's one of the areas that we want to start to build out. Now that we've got such a robust work on literacy going, we want to start looking at math. If there are any questions, we can entertain those now. I can talk all day about education because it's my passion and I love it. So.
There was one question, Sarah Munson, thank you for the report. Sarah, you have a question, you raise your hand. Sarah Munson?
I don't know that I raised my hand. I was interviewed for the Dyslexic Academy in the fall, and I said I would like to tutor. So I have signed up for that.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
There is one more question, Madam Chair, is about from Sandra Perkins, as would a restorative justice circle, you can see that, with student parents, leaders, communities, members on Whitfield be helpful. You want to answer that, or?
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, in that anything that is going to make the children whole again is always helpful. And no, in that this really needs to be addressed related to the adults in the room. So yes, we absolutely should be, a restorative circle would be nice. They've done some healing work like that. But we're talking about racist attacks. It's not something you can fix in one session or two, or for some people a lifetime. So what we need to work on is prevention. And that's what we're trying to work on, because what we found out as this situation evolved is that there have been people who have been teaching children to accept this kind of behavior as a byproduct of being involved in sports. So if someone calls you a nigger, you just suck it up because the most important thing is to be able to play. So we now have a letter that was crafted and sent out from, I think, just about 200 alumni members who are asking for this to be addressed. So this is not something that just happened. This is something that's been ongoing and that needs to be corrected. So yes, restorative circles are great, but affirmative action to make sure that the people who are responsible for ensuring the safety of athletes in their sports, that's optimal. And that's what we're going for.
If I might just add to that, a restorative circle would require the offender to come to the table. And we've not had the offenders taking responsibility. So it's a little difficult to work within that framework with this particular issue.
Thank you, co-chairs of the Education Committee. If anyone on this call is interested in knowing more about the Education Committee and the work they're doing, please feel free to reach out to either one of the co-chairs and they would contact you and have a conversation. So again, thank you for your report. Next up, we have Kellen, the chair of our Housing Committee.
Thanks, JD. I'm going to share a presentation with you guys. Hopefully you can see it. Okay. So as the other committees have said, just putting together a quick report that outlines our 2021 priorities, as well as some of the work that our committee's been engaging with so far this year. So just real quick recap, the purpose of our housing committee is to study housing conditions in Arlington County. We receive and seek to address complaints of discrimination, as well as opposing all restrictive practices, whether public or private. And we disseminate information and render assistance to eliminate discrimination in housing. I think we kind of do more than this, but this is our official bylaws purpose. And that is sort of the foundation of the work that we do. So looking into our 2021 priorities, and these were just set by the committee earlier this month. So the first is under the category of fair housing. And this is a state level priority. So for our senators and any delegates that are in the meeting today, we'll hopefully be talking to you about this year. We'd like the state to pass an affirmatively furthering fair housing mandate. That sounds like a weird combination of words. It has to do with the Fair Housing Act that was passed at the federal level in 1968. And basically, it's a requirement that all local governments within the Commonwealth of Virginia would be required to develop a strategy tied to metrics with participation from the community to desegregate residential communities and increase opportunity for residents of color. And ideally, Virginia would also provide financial and technical assistance to localities to enhance their strategy and implementation. This is very similar to a mandate that the Obama administration put out through the Department of Housing and Urban Development that was then obliterated in the previous administration. And so this is, we think, very important to put on the books in Virginia, not only because this is just really critical to desegregate counties like Arlington County, as well as all the other communities within the state, but also to ensure that the federal mandate is not the only one that's in place, and that can change depending on which party's in office. So we think this is really critical. Our next fair housing priority is around protecting residents with criminal history. So as I'm sure everyone on this meeting or in this meeting is aware, that people of color are disproportionately negatively impacted and involved with the criminal justice system in the state of Virginia. And unfortunately, right now, it is perfectly legal if you are a private landlord to say, I will not rent to anyone who has any sort of criminal history. So if you were convicted of possessing an ounce of marijuana last year, a landlord can say for the rest of your life, I will never rent to you. And that's perfectly legal. They can also say, if you've ever been arrested of a crime, even if you've never been found guilty, that they will never provide you with housing. And the problem with this is that it disproportionately impacts people of color. So when they're trying to find housing after they've done their time or just have, criminal history in their record, they most often will end up in homeless shelters and then become burdens of the state and local governments who try and find them housing or come up with special programs, because a lot of private landlords will not allow anyone with any sort of criminal history to live within their units. That's not all private landlords, but it is a lot. So this is definitely something that we would want to change. And this is something that Arlington County has the power to do on their own. It doesn't need to be a state action, although I think we'd certainly be happy to have it at the state level as well. So this is another priority that we have for 2021. Around gentrification, this is a hugely important topic for Arlington County, and I think for the rest of the state as well. For here, we're looking at rent stabilization. So passing enabling legislation to allow local governments to place caps on the amount that rent can be raised in privately owned, unsubsidized housing stocks. So the number one issue that I've heard from talking to tenants in Arlington County is that they cannot afford the increasing cost of rent within the county. And it is driving them out of our community, and it's especially hurting people with lower incomes. So passing legislation that would allow Arlington County and Alexandria and other localities to say, this year rent can only increase by 5% instead of 30% or whatever, a landlord would like to do, because Amazon is coming in, they realize that they can charge a lot more now. So, and again, this is more aimed at the bad actors rather than, the whole landlord community. But we think it's something that's really important to protect the long-term affordability of rental housing within Arlington County and throughout the state. And then lastly, under affordable housing, our priority is zoning reform. So this is something I'm sure many of you have heard about missing middle and lots of talks about, right now the single family home zoning dominance in Arlington that is based off of racist and discriminatory, zoning laws that were passed a century ago. So this would be working with the county to ensure that our zoning reflects the population trends that we have, that it is put in place in a way that's going to encourage diversity and encourage lower cost of homes. And that's not what we have today. So there's still a lot of details that I think we want to work out with this and exactly what our position will evolve to be. But it's definitely one of the key priorities that our members identified for 2021. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some ongoing activities that we've been engaged with. So with fair housing, the chapter had sent a letter to Arlington County criticizing their fair housing plan that they developed in response to basically some HUD requirements for not going nearly far enough to address the segregation needs within our community, as well as the disparities in health, education, employment, and income that can all be traced back to where you live and the color of your skin within our community. So we're continually working with the county to ensure that a new revised plan actually has some real comprehensive strategies to address these issues and move us forward instead of current state. We're also working with the Alexandria, Fairfax, Loudoun, and Prince William County NAACP chapters or branches to advocate for communities of color during a regional assessment of impediments to fair housing choice that's happening right now through the COG, the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. So that also includes DC and Montgomery County. But we want to make sure that a lot of the things that we were disappointed in that came out of Arlington, that doesn't happen on the regional level, and also help use that influence and shape Arlington's own policies and the recommendations that come out of this. So we're excited to be working and collaborating with the other branches within Northern Virginia and see where that can take us. And then lastly, we've been working on low-income tenant advocacy. So I think a number of people are probably familiar with the Serrano Apartments. It's an AHC-owned apartment complex within Arlington. For a couple of years now, there's been a number of issues related to health and safety that the tenants, at least some of the tenants, have been trying to seek redress on. There's been some progress made, but there's still some ongoing issues. So we want to continue working with them, as well as the county and AHC, to ensure that these get resolved and any of the systemic issues that are contributing to the maintenance issues and other concerns can be addressed over the long term. We're also looking at ways to collaborate and just do more outreach with tenant organizations within Arlington County and see how we can work together on affordable housing. We sent a letter to Arlington County with recommendations for when they give out affordable housing funds through federal programs, but also through Arlington County. It's called AHIF, to ensure that they're including tenant conditions and sort of a recommendations to improve the racial equity lens that they were using for how they give out that money. And we're continuing to work with them to make sure that's implemented so that that becomes an important criteria for how money is distributed and our taxpayer dollars are used. We also just recently, today, in fact, sent a letter to Arlington County with budget recommendations related to housing. Basically, we signed on to the letter for the Alliance for Housing Solutions. So we were recommending expanded rental assistance, eviction relief, basically continuing forward with the things that have put in place for COVID, as well as increasing the supply of affordable housing and assuring we have enough money for that, and supporting low-income home ownership programs within the county, as well as some staff needs in the housing space to ensure that they have the right level of oversight for their committed affordable units. So those are kind of the things we've been involved with. There's kind of a lot going on at any one time. If people have questions, happy to answer those.
Kellen, you have a couple of questions and some comments from our friends like I think Steph and Ann Loudoun has said a few things in the chat. So I'm going to ask if you can answer those perhaps directly. And if we have some time, if there's anything that needs to go out formally, we'll capture the name. But I do want to get to our Environmental and Climate Justice Committee. I'll let them give their brief. I thought there was one hand raised, but I took it down. Tina? Okay, maybe not. And again, if you're interested in working with our housing committee right now, it's Kelly MacBeth, Tim Dempsey, and Michael Hemminger. So if you have a pretty good team of others. So if you're interested in working with our housing committee, please reach out to the branch or reach out to Kellen and Tim directly. For those, again, that registration, put your names down and say you want to volunteer for a committee. This may be one of the committees we'll be asking you to serve on. So again, thank you, Kellen, and great presentation, okay?
Thanks, JD.
You're welcome. Before we move on to our Environment and Climate Justice Committee Chair, I do want to send a shout out to and thank you to Delegate Patrick Hope and to the Commonwealth Attorney who both are with us tonight. Pat, you don't miss a meeting, so thank you for coming on tonight and sharing some of your comments in the feed. And I'm just going to also choose to take this moment to say, Gail, I should have said this at the beginning. Thank you. Gail is one of our new Silver Life paid members, y'all. So you can go and give her a round of applause. So thanks for being with us tonight, Gail. With that being said, we're going to turn it over to our Environmental and Climate Justice Chair, Ms. Gabrielle Cantor. Gabrielle, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to set up my slightly less fancy PowerPoint. So my name is Gabrielle Cantor. I'm the chair of the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee, or ECJ for short. We started our committee towards the end of last summer, so we're coming up on a year soon. We've done a lot of different things. We meet on Sunday evenings, once the first Sunday of every month. So once a month, not every week. We also talked about our priorities. We finalized ours, and the top 3 priorities we came up with are the tree canopy in Arlington, energy and climate, and air pollution and transportation. So to delve a little deeper, tree canopy is important for a variety of reasons. The basics of it are trees are good for our mental and physical health. They're also very important for the environment when it comes to habitat, pollution, water pollution, flooding, all these things. But we have seen that in Arlington, there is a disparity in the tree canopy depending on where you live. So some of the lower income areas have less tree canopy than those upper income areas. So we're doing a sort of 2-pronged approach to this. When it comes to the actual like on the ground tree implementation, we're going to try and work with Eco Action Arlington to help make their tree canopy fund more equitable. And the Tree Canopy Fund is basically a service that is provided from the developers who do not meet the tree canopy needs in their on their lots. They have to provide money to this fund, and then the Eco Action Arlington will give different residents who apply free trees on their property, and we'll plant them for them. So we want to make sure that everyone in the county is getting this, and it's equitable across the board. We also are going to be looking into some of the legislative changes that we want to see both on the county level and also on the state level. When it comes to tree canopy, private ownership really rules the day, and we want to be able to make sure that it's not, we're not at the whims of the developers. And in that vein, the county is putting together a forestry plan, and we are a part of those conversations when it comes to equity in that. We also, so when it comes to energy and climate, as a background, energy is very tied into climate change. Many of you probably heard the buzzwords of climate change, energy efficiency, but in a nutshell, climate change is going to affect all of us, and it's very directly related to energy usage. It's supposedly going to be affecting low-income areas more disproportionately, which is why we're concerned, but also energy usage is something that many of the benefits of these new technologies do tend to assist the upper income individuals and not lower income individuals. So part of our approach, again, two-pronged approach when it comes to policies, the community energy plan, which is something that Arlington County is putting together, and we've been a part of those conversations. We want to make sure that that is being done equitably. And then also when it comes to energy efficiency and education, we want to make sure that everyone in the county is getting those same benefits, because it's shown across the country that renters tend to pay more of their bill, tends to be the utilities, than if you're an owner of your property. So we want to make sure that renters are getting the tools that they need to be able to save money, but also save on energy usage to affect climate change. And lastly, air pollution. So this is something that our committee hasn't delved in super deeply, but we are concerned about because air pollution is one of the bigger environmental justice issues across the country. You'll find that a lot of the places where there are communities of color and low-income communities, there is worse air pollution. You can find that on the EPA's website. And so in Arlington County, we're no exception. A lot of the heavily trafficked transit routes are areas where there is worse air pollution. And so we want to delve deeper into that and see what our committee should be doing to approach that concern. So those are our three priorities and some of the things that we've been exploring and doing over the past year. But another activity that we've been doing since the beginning of our committee, you may have seen the flyer that came out about the Black and Latinx Birdwalker event. We are having our series where there's going to be 3 different events. You're welcome to attend any or all. We have 2 very impressive leaders who are very nice people. I've met them both and they're great. But this is an event that we're trying to help people in our community who don't normally get involved in the environmental world, in naturalist world, in birder world, because maybe they don't see themselves in the leaders, or maybe they don't feel represented. We want to make sure that there are faces in the community who can be seen in this world. So we are encouraging people to come or to invite others who you might think are interested. And I am going to put my information in the chat because you don't need to write down this link that is in here, but it's in the flyer that we received in the email. And if you want to contact me, I can also send it to you directly. I'll put my information in the chat. But I think that's basically it for our main activities happening. It's a lot of different stuff, but I can take questions. I'll stop sharing here. There we go.
All right, any questions for our Environmental and Climate Justice Chair? If so, please just unmute yourself and ask the question. All right, we really want to get some young students, young families, more especially our families of color, kids of color involved in this birder program, this naturalist series. So please share the flyer in your circles and sign up. Gabrielle, how many people do you have on your committee now? How many members? Roughly about what?
I believe it's about 10.
Yeah, about 10 committed folks. So this is also another, again, one of our newly formed committees within the past year. But if you are interested in working with environmental and climate justice issues, just reach out to Gabrielle. We also have our Virginia State Conference Environmental Climate Justice Chair, who's also the president of Fairfax branch NAACP nearby. So I know Gabrielle, you speak with her quite a bit, but you've been doing great work, and thank you for your time and your presentation. Okay. All right, we're right at 8:30, and I'm gonna, we may have run a few minutes over, but I'm gonna drop something here in the chat for everyone. Tomorrow, there will be the CivFed, we're members with, right, is having their monthly meeting, and the topic is on, we have a panel on data privacy and civil rights. So we were able to get one of the speakers who's coming out of Florida to be on that panel. So if you have some time tomorrow, please register. I think it would be a great event to be a part of. Our first vice president is in Louisiana today. So he has a block here on the bottom of the agenda. So I'm gonna just run through a few things and give you some updates. I won't hold you long. Just an update on the Becton's case, because we've talked about that quite a bit. Just know that the Arlington branch of the NAACP, we have been speaking with leadership and with the family over the past several months, and it's still an ongoing investigation. All right. So, it's been 6 months, but the investigation again is ongoing and is limited to what we can know at this time. So we will keep you informed and let you know as much as we know as time moves forward. But trust that the process is running its course. Tomorrow night, at the recess meeting of the Arlington County Board, the county manager is supposed to give updates as it relates to the police practices work group, the same work group that the first vice president and many others, but the first vice president sat on for 7 months. I haven't seen the report yet, but I would ask that those of you on the call and those of you that perhaps saw our email, I, along with a representative from Arlington for Justice and the coalition, another coalition member spoke on Saturday at this past county board meeting, because we want to ensure that those recommendations coming out of the PPG are enacted and enforced, implemented. So if you want to find out more about the PPG and where the county is heading, tune in tomorrow at the recess meeting of the Arlington County Board. Something else on the horizon is the next chief of police, which you may not know, the announcement went out in December. We don't know right now who that may be, who the candidates are, but what we do know for certain, and I think that will be the consensus of everyone in the NAACP and on this call, that whoever the next chief is needs to have an appreciation for this community, where we've been at, what we're going through, and at the end of the day, take a close, hard look at the recommendations coming out of PPG and be able to adjust their mission accordingly. There's also something I want to kill this rumor. There's a rumor out there, a lot of people think about the NAACP, and I'm glad our executive director is still on the call. Keep in mind, the NAACP is not, we're not holding the flag or the banner on defund the police. That is not the NAACP. We're talking about reallocation of resources to different areas within government, whether that's the counselors, more teachers, more therapists, things like that. So, and reimagine, right? Everyone's used that word about reimagining policing as it is today. So I just want to dispel that, because I still hear from time to time, even get some emails about the NAACP defunding the police. That's not our take. Many of you know I also sit on the logo work group. We just wrapped up the last five, the final five, the top 5 logos. They will be shared, I think, next week with the community, a committee of 15. So we got about 200 and some odd logos that were submitted. The committee worked hard and long for the past month or so going through the logos. A logo that's going to represent Arlington today, the future, and perhaps in the past. So stand by. The public will get a chance to vote on the logos. So again, watch your email. The NAACP will share that information when it comes out. Outside of that, again, the first vice president is out. He was with you. That probably has been his report. We're over time by 5 minutes. But I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight. We are at the NAACP here still growing. And like I try to remind folks about from day to day, from week to week, is that, you got to remember where we were at. If you're associated with the Arlington branch NAACP, 3 years ago, we had 180 some people on the rolls. And of that 180 some people on the rolls, we had the faithful dozen. Now we're well over 800. And when you grow, right, you get a many personalities. The NAACP is not going to change, right? People aren't going to change the NAACP. The NAACP has been here for 112 years. And my charge and my duty is to make sure it remains for another 112 years. We are not perfect. We have a lot of growing to do. We have a lot of learning. And I often tell folks sometimes, people know my background, that I was in the military, in the Marine Corps, but this is not a military organization. Not even close. All right? This is a volunteer-based, non-for-profit organization. We get what we get when people show up. And we thank you when you serve, when you show up. So for those of you that are working hard and putting in the hours and attending these type of meetings, we thank you. We thank you. For those of you that are going to volunteer and register and say you want to serve on the committee, we thank you. My job as a leader is to help you be successful at the end of the day. And I'm going to do the best of my ability to make that happen, because I want to always be here. But I'm proud to be in this position. I'm proud of all of you. We're a little bit over and we're still at over 70 on the call. With that being said, the meeting is now adjourned. I will stick around for another 5 to 10 minutes for those that want to chat. So thank you. The meeting is now adjourned.
Hey, JD, thank you for doing a great job. You have a lot of energy. I told you, remember, this is a